Hey everyone, welcome back to another installment of Revolutions, ongoing diary of my spins. Obviously, I've been playing a lot of electro, synth pop, that kind of thing, because I'm using those in my videos, but not just, I play lots of other records, and starting with this morning, I revisited this Australian 2010s. 2009, I think, in fact, 2008, sorry, album from Beaches. The band's called Beaches. If you can see that there. Beaches were a five-piece from Melbourne, all girls or women. And this debut album has a very sort of crowd rock flavor, kind of like indie rock, but mixed with a real kind of like La Düsseldorf Noi kind of sensibility. It's not a record that I pull out very often. Very beautiful kind of sleeve, and I don't think that many people on YouTube talking about records would know about this record or have this record. But if you get the chance of listening to it, it's a beautiful, it's all neo crap kind of. Aussie indie record, and it's, as I said, only girls playing on this. And I think this morning as well, I also revisited broadcast work and non-work, a compilation of early works by one of my favorite bands. Everybody should have some broadcast records in their collection, in my opinion. It's such a shame that Trish Keenan died so young. She was 40 something when she died, and left a big gaping hole in British, indie pop. I'd say, would you call this? What would you describe broadcast as? I don't know. It's very difficult. I love all of their albums. I think it's worth. Even the album with the focus group is really good. They've got a very. They're also very influenced by krautrock and very, very much in the vein of Stereolab as well. Lots of beautiful analog synths mixed with, a real psychedelic kind of tinge. Amazing band. I think they were from Birmingham Broadcast. I don't know if I'm wrong, but this is a superb compilation. Okay, well, since I'm on the electronic tip at the moment, here is an old classic that I pulled out of my electronic shelves. Patrick Vian, Bruit et Temps Analogue, from 1976 on Egg Records. Patrick Vian is a French electronic avant-garde musician. He was in a band called Red Noise. On this, he channeled his inner Klaus Schulze, or Eberhard Schöner, or God no, Edgar Froese. That's the kind of sound, but maybe at times a bit more abrasive. Lots of not just electronics, but you've got also Fender Rhodes and obviously Patrick Vian plays Moog and a Moog sequencer, but also some piano and some Rhodes and some guitar on this. So it's a very full sound, and I really, really like this record. I don't play it often enough. Okay, next, here is a band that I'm kind of obsessed with, and it's Roxy Music. Easily the most underrated band from the 70s from Britain. Easily. Who else talks about Roxy Music? People always quote, whatever, the Rolling Stones or Led Zeppelin, or, these guys influence arguably just as many people, but I don't think they get anywhere near the recognition. The debut album is phenomenal. I mean, I can't get enough of things like Ladytron or 2HB. The first side is flawless. First side is flawless. Second side is also super strong with the bob, and would you believe this record is, you know, it's 5 fucking stars. Really, it's really really amazing, and I'll eventually I will do some form of a Roxy music video, because I think they're just an incredible band, and you know, I'm playing a lot of this too at the moment. Boys and Girls by Bryan and Ferry. What a stellar pop album from the 80s. I think you can find this album in every bargain bin the world over, and I'm sure you passed it over many times. I mean, it's got more than this, which is the hit single, but the whole album flows beautifully, and every song is of that sort of ilk, of that caliber. You know, they're really amazing songwriting. My copy, sadly, the back is, you know, it's back to front, but I don't really care about that. You know, I don't play the cover. I very highly recommend Boys and Girls. That's an album from 1985 or 86, 85. That's right. Since I was, you know, listening to a lot of electronic music, as I was making some gimme 10s on electronic music, I also played a lot of like German electronic music, like Fedra. What an amazing, like again, like that's a 5-star album there and then, you know. And that's not an expensive album to get, or a hard album to get, but this just puts you into a mood. You just, you know, slip into a deep space. No wonder that things like techno were invented at the back of that, because, you know, all you need to put is a beat to this, and, you know, amazing record. The Edgar Froese-led band, and I also played, I think, this one too, yeah, which I'm not going to talk about too much, but again, you know, Force Majeure is, you know, also worth, you know, definitely worth investigating if you want to get into Tangerine Dream, a very essential band, in my opinion. Here's a record that's in high rotation at my place at the moment. It's Thomas Almquist with Nyanser, which has just been reissued, I think this month. It's a very difficult to find record for a long time, but Be With Records from Manchester have kindly re-released it, and I urge you to pick up a copy, because it's a beautiful ambient jazz record from Sweden. It is lush, it is delicate, it is spirited, it is you know, melancholic. It is just a beautiful record, and he plays largely guitar. He's a guitar player, but the band it's like an ECM record at times, mixed with, you know, it's got a Brian Eno meets ECM kind of fare. I don't know. It's probably not the best description. Why don't you listen to it, for crying out loud, and then maybe you can, you know, work it out. I revisited Straight Lie by Freddie Hubbard, a couple of jazz records that I was playing like the other night. Yeah, I mean, classic CTI. If you're going to get like a few CTIs in your collection, that's just a great place to start. That and Red Clay. The title track, Straight Life, is jaunty and deep, and, you know, it's one of the best things Freddie Hubbard's ever done, really. You know, Here's That Rainy Day is also great. Freddie Hubbard, George Benson on guitar, Ron Carter, Jack DeJohnette, Herbie Hancock, Joe Henderson. I mean, that's a lineup, huh? That's a lineup and a half. The next one is also a fantastic jazz record, but this one is more kind of a soul jazz. Even a time a bit spiritual jazz, influence Les McCann. Invitation to open this, which I think is a sublime album. It sort of is a soul jazz workout. He just builds up slowly. Side one is a side long track, The Lovers, and you can see it's cooking and cooking and cooking until it's sort of eruption. It's just so good. So Les McCann is on piano and Moog and electric piano. You have Youssef Latif on this, on the tenor sax. Cornel Dupré on guitar. You got a really, um, really excellent kind of band there. Okay, I'm gonna go fast because the light is fading and it's probably hard to see. Digital Caresse, Demain, Serge Fabriano. So this is an oddity, a synthy oddity from Guadeloupe, French island of Guadeloupe, made in 1985 or something, on a MIDI with a MIDI digital interface with a synth, and a bunch of kids from high school who just sing choir. So it's one of these kind of really sort of minimal wave records from the West Indies. It's got reissued recently enough, and I picked up a copy, and it's not a record I would play every day, but it's kind of it's got its place in my collection, definitely. Digital Caresse, Demain, which means tomorrow. Yeah, from the sort of early 80s, from the Caribbean, the French Caribbean, and all synthy and with choirs in the background. It's a bit like the Langley School projects, but like in a synthy way. That makes sense. Okay, very briefly, I'm going to talk about The Spirit of Eden, one of my all-time favorite records. I played this week. I know it back to front. It's amazing. Everybody should own a copy. It is the record that invented basically post-rock. Yes, it did, right? Next, here is a classic Chicago house record. Just amazing. This is Mr. Fingers with Amnesia. Mr. Fingers is Larry Heard. Larry Heard, if you've never heard of Larry Heard, excuse the pun, he's the Chicago house producer, if there ever was one. And he recorded under the name Larry Heard and also Mr. Fingers, amongst other aliases. And this is a 3 LP compilation of some of his, some of his key tracks. And I think this was re-released recently, 2022, I think. And I picked up a copy not so long ago, and I'm freaking loving this. This is like really amazing house. The beats are incredible. The synth on it is just, it's off the hook. Anybody should be able to enjoy this. Mr. Fingers, Amnesia. It's so catchy and like it's very hard to describe electronic music at times because it's a feeling. You've got, but this pulls you in really from the first track. It's really elastic and it gets you, your mind thinks, wow, this is just really so far forwards, and at the same time your feet want to dance to it. I revisited the debut album by Scritti Politti, Songs to Remember. Unfortunately, not a great title for this because a lot of the songs are just so blend into one another. Although, like things like Asylum in Jerusalem or The Sweetest Girl, they're very lovely song, but it works really well as an album. But can I remember? I love Green Gas Side. Love him. His voice is amazing, and he's moved seamlessly from one style of music to the next. He started with post punk, and then he went into sophisti-pop, which is what this is. Then he went into Michael Jackson like synth-pop. It's amazing. Um, I was out the other night, and one of my mates was talking about Mdu Mokhtar. That reminded me that I've got the albums, and I played Afrique Victim. His, I think, third record or whatever. Mamadou Mokhtar Suleiman, fantastic guitar player. I think from Niger, the country of Niger. I thought it was Mali to start with, but I think they're from Niger. Just like, desert blues, really, in your face, very percussive. The guitar playing reminds me a lot of Tinari Wen. It's got these kind of like North African scales. It's incredible. His records are brilliant. Okay. I'm going to continue with this avant-garde jazz record, which was recommended to me by a friend. He will comment on this video, Amos. It was only cheap at the record store, and he said to me, "Oh, there's a cheap copy. You should get this." And I've got the Khan Jamal album already. I've got another one of his 70s record. He was a vibraphonist. He played the vibes, and this is a live kind of date. Some of it is a bit abstract. I don't know if I like all of this. Side 2 is more enjoyable than side A. Overall, I'm still deciding whether I like this or not. But it wasn't expensive or anything, so I picked it up and just gave it a go. Khan Jamal. I'll just talk to you about a couple more here. Fabulous 12-inch single by Aphex Twin of On, which I think is one of Aphex Twin's most iconic singles. Just like an amazing piece of, IDM basically, ambient techno if you want to call it that. Original pressing on Warp Records. On, just listen to it. Yeah, I promise you won't be disappointed. It's very ambient and chilled, but at the same time very pulsating. A little bit of Minneapolis sound with Jan Jackson. Great record, actually. If you like Prince, you would absolutely like this. If you like things like 1999, this is really very much in the synth funk mode. With the singles, obviously, Nasty and what have you done for me lately? Cheap album to get. I guess you can get that pretty much everywhere, but it's a banger. I mean, it's a really nice album. And finally, I went to a gig a couple of weeks ago, and I went to see Essendon Airport, the mythical Australian Melbourne post-punk synthwave minimal wave band. And whilst at the gig, I picked up a David Chesworth solo album from 1981. It was reissued by Chapter Music on bright yellow wax, which is bizarre. I'm not really into colored vinyl. I think it's just pretty pointless to me, but this one is so bright yellow, it's just like poof, it pops in your head, in your face. This is a minimal synth record from 1981. Yeah, it's not something I would listen to on a daily basis, but the gig was amazing. For all dudes, like they're like 65 or 70 years old, there. Robert Gooch on guitar is amazing. Anyway, that's all I have for you right now. I hope you enjoy this installment. Talk to me, obviously.